Well, Donald Trump may have been subdued in the Manhattan courtroom, but as soon as he returned to Mar-a-Lago, he unleashed numerous attacks against the Manhattan DA, as well as the judge overseeing this case.
I have a Trump-hating judge with a Trump-hating wife and family, whose daughter worked for Kamala Harris and now receives money from the Biden-Harris campaign, and a lot of it.
Those attacks in spite of the judge's own warning to Trump to not incite violence. I want to bring in Mike Davis, a Trump legal ally and former Gorsuch clerk. Mike, thanks for your time tonight. So you just heard Donald Trump. That was just one of many attacks he made last night. Why target the judge like that in particular?
Well, I think President Trump understands that this is a political prosecution against him by a George Soros funded Manhattan DA.
Okay, let me just stop you right there. George Soros donated to a PAC that then donated to Alvin Bragg. Go ahead.
Okay, so it was George Soros' money that went to support Alvin Bragg's campaign. The prior Manhattan DA declined to prosecute these charges at Alvin Bragg's urging when Alvin Bragg worked for the Attorney General's office. The Manhattan U.S. Attorney declined to prosecute these charges. The Federal Election Commission declined to prosecute these charges. And Alvin Bragg himself declined to prosecute these charges until he started taking heat from the left. And so then Alvin Bragg recruited one of the top officials from the Biden Justice Department, Matthew Colangelo. He was in the number 3 office in the Biden Justice Department to come revive this dead case in the Manhattan DA's office. They brought these bogus political charges against President Trump, and then he finds out that this judge actually donated to Biden's campaign. So that at least raises the appearance of impartiality, the appearance that this judge could be not be impartial against President Trump.
You threw out a lot there. Let me just go back and fact check a few things. First of all, Cy Vance, who's the former DA in Manhattan, he said that the federal prosecutors asked him to step away from this case. That was something that they were looking at the time. And we've heard from Alvin Bragg saying that he developed new evidence, which is why this case was brought back. So those are a few aspects, but we're talking about the judge in particular in this case, right? Trump went after this judge only hours after the judge warned him in that courtroom, do not engage in rhetoric that has the potential to cause harm to anyone, to incite violence. Was it wrong for former President Trump to target the judge only hours after that?
So I'm not understanding what President Trump said there that could potentially incite violence. And I find it very interesting that the same Democrats who are criticizing President Trump now because he's getting railroaded in New York were awfully quiet when Democrats were running illegal obstruction of justice campaigns outside of Supreme Court justices' homes for months, still running them, that led to a 1 a.m. assassination attempt against Justice Kavanaugh, his wife, Ashley, and their 2 teenage daughters.
I'm not sure about the Democratic conspiracy, but that's not even what I'm asking about. So let's focus on exactly what we're talking about. Trump called the judge Trump-hating. He said this is a Trump-hating judge, that his daughter was involved in Democratic politics, and the concern is that that could go against exactly what the judge had asked for in the courtroom. Because as you well know, the former president has a fervent, devout group of followers. You know that.
Democrat followers of the final
are these the same followers who tried to kill Justice Kavanaugh in his home?
Okay, we're focusing on this topic. We're focusing on this topic, but how much of this has to do with trying to get the judge off of this case, in your view?
Well, I mean, if the judge has the appearance of bias, which it looks like he does, he donated to Joe Biden's campaign, he should get off this case. And this judge has a history with President Trump in prior cases. So maybe that's what President Trump is referring to.
This case is now moving into discovery. What kind of fight should we expect to see from the Trump team? Will lawyers try to delay as much as they can, pushing it toward the election?
I don't understand why the lawyers would want to delay this case at all. It's a dog of a case. Even the New York Times and the Washington Post have pretty much laughed at this case. It's a joke of a legal theory that Alvin Bragg is pursuing. It's clearly a political hit. He's colluding with Matthew Colangelo from the Biden Justice Department to use legal lawfare here to get Trump.
And let me just say too, we should note that one of Trump's attorneys, Joe Tacopina, he openly says that the judge in this case is not biased. That is important to note here. And what evidence do you have that they are colluding in this conspiracy that